I'd like to thank Dylan DeMello, Jean-Gabriel Pajot, Vladimir Nemestikov, and Tyler Ennis, and their families for their contributions on and off the ice, for the players and for their families off the ice.
When did you make the decision that JG wasn't going to get done with JG, and what was kind of the process leading to making that deal?
Well, the process. I'll answer the second part of the question. The process was obviously we were in contract negotiations for the last little while. We felt that we made good progress on a contract, and at a certain point in time, we saw that the contract couldn't be done, and from then on, we started looking at options of possibly moving him.
Could you just kind of sum up your day and with the deals you did make and
Yeah.
how you felt about it?
Obviously, today was a good day in advancing the plan that we have for the rebuild. I think if you sum up the day, you look at the sum of the draft picks that we got. I think it was important for us to do that. We did one deal where we just added someone we feel is an NHL depth player to help us get through, and we want the players in Belleville, especially the young group, and some of the key veterans to keep on winning there for our playoff run there. So if you sum up the day, you look at all the assets that we were able to acquire, all the picks that we were able to acquire, especially for this year's draft. I think it says a lot. It's one of the deepest drafts that I can remember, according to our scouts and that I've seen personally in the last 20 years. And it's a deep draft in the first round, and our scouts and myself feel that it's a deep draft in the first 3 rounds. You know, it's not just trading Jean-Gabriel, it's trading all the other players that we traded, and you know the return of Jean-Gabriel was a first and a second, and you know we just got another pick because we feel he'll help them definitely whether they make the playoffs for their Stanley Cup run.
What was the market like for Jean-Gabriel Pajot when you see that it's a first-round pick and a second round? Was there multiple teams calling? How many? Like what kind of returns were we looking at?
Obviously, there were teams calling. I think you always got to be respectful to the process and, you know, not say the number. But I think I give a lot of credit to Lou Lamoriello when he put the first rounder on the table. And then, you know, we're talking multiple pieces. He put the other pieces on. We knew that we could get a deal done. I think there were other teams that were disappointed they couldn't get him. Because at the same time, I think you always have to do what's best for the organization, what's best for the plan moving forward. And if you knew you can't sign the player, that at the same time you make sure that you can get a very good return, and we felt that was the case with this particular deal.
You have a few other UFAs left over, and I don't know how much you can talk about it, but Craig Anderson or someone like Mark Borowiecki, where you looking to be moved?
On Craig, I think when we're going to have this type of team, it's not a bad thing to have a veteran goalie. Craig never expressed interest to us to move him, and we were always going to respect that. I told Mark Borowiecki at some time in December that he was not going to be traded. I think there's got to be a human side to how we do our business here, and we both know, everyone knows here that Mark and his wife were expecting their first child, and to get the return that probably would have got to Mark wasn't worth it. And then we wanted Mark to be here till the end of the year, possibly talk contract negotiations moving forward, because we really like what he brings to our team, how he shows our younger kids how to play, how he practices hard every day, and I think those are key elements for us in the rebuild.
Lisa Wallace with Canadian Press. Since this rebuild process started, you've often talked about the need for veteran players to surround and support this young group, but we're seeing a number of these veteran players move out the door, so is it being harder than you expected to keep some of them, or should we expect you to try and sign some in the off-season?
Well, I think right now we all feel that, you know, we have some here right now, and there are some that we will try to sign. At the same time, I can tell you that today was probably the toughest call I've ever made as a general manager. It was very difficult to tell Jean-Gabriel that he was traded. I remember watching him in Gatineau in the playoffs against Jonathan Huberdeau and how he played well, and we were fortunate enough to take him, if I'm not mistaken, in the 4th round that year, and how good he played. And I can tell you I don't get very emotional a lot with players, but today was a very difficult call to make with him.